Hi, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Cara, and I'm a Michigan realtor. I help families throughout Southeast Michigan buy and sell homes. I'm delighted today to be joined by my dear friend, Bob Jordan. Bob, thanks so much for being here.
Cara, it's great to see you again, even though it's only on Zoom. I
I
wish
know.
it was, I'll give you a virtual hug.
Awesome. Well, I got to know Bob when I was director of marketing for Northern Trust Wealth Management. Many of our wealthiest clients would hire Bob to make a family video biography. So thanks again, Bob, so much for joining us.
Thank you. And, the real estate market has just been crazy lately. So I know you are very busy.
Yeah, for sure. Well, to help my audience get to know you a little bit better, Bob, is it okay if I just riddle you with some questions?
Oh, absolutely.
All
Sure.
right. So, Bob, where did you grow up and what made you ever think that you could be on the national news?
Well, I was born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia, and went to college there. And my college was interrupted by the Vietnam War. I was drafted. At the time, my grades weren't the best when I was in college, and I lost my deferment. So that's how I was drafted. Afterwards,
That's
I came back
that's
out of the Army. I'm sorry.
I was going to say that's surprising because I know you're also a doctor, which most people don't know.
Well, at the time, I wasn't as focused as I should have been. But when I got out of the Army, I went back to school, and I was a much better student then. And I was working in Nashville, Tennessee, and had heard about a position at an NBC affiliate there. So I went out and applied and spoke with the program director then. And it was one of those, don't call us, we'll call you. But then they did call me back later. And I did some auditions, and I was hired as a booth announcer. Back then, every 30 minutes at the end of a program, you would read tags available at Walgreens, your True Value hardware store, and that sort of thing. And I had to give hourly station identifications, which was then WSM, the Service of the National Life and Accident Insurance Company. Well, then I started doing more and more things on camera. I was working with a radio guy who taught me a lot about writing news copy. He would rip mine up and give it back to me, and I had to do it over and over. And over much time, my writing got better and better. Then I was, after 3 years in Nashville, I was hired in Chicago by WGN Television. I moved to Chicago with my family and spent time there for 2 years, and then was hired with the CBS Evening News with Walter Cronkite. And I was the Midwest, one of the Midwest correspondents, and traveled around a lot until almost 1980, when I went back to WGN when it became a superstation, and you could see us all over the country. And I stayed there until I retired.
Now, tell everybody the story about what you used to tell your daughter when you were at work.
Well, like most kids, television growing up is this marvelous instrument that is like a window to the world. And so I would tell my then young daughter, Karen, that, in the afternoon, we wanted her doing her homework, and that she had to be careful because we could see back through there, and we'd keep an eye on her if she wasn't paying attention. And so she kind of grew up thinking that she could see Dad, and he could also see back through the television and see her.
That's awesome. And so
And
I have
today,
to,
ironically, she is now a journalist, and she's an anchor woman here in Chicago and a reporter, and she's married to a guy. Karen is at the ABC station, and her husband is at the NBC station.
awesome.
Yeah.
So do you think your two grandchildren will maybe become newscasters?
I don't know. It's hard to say. They grow up watching their mother and father on television, so it's not a big deal to them. We'll say, "Hey, there's your mom," and then they look up. Oh, yeah.
And
So
they are, and they're 7 and 5, right?
Vivian is 9, and her little brother, John Robert, is 4, soon to be 5 this month.
Awesome. So I have to ask you to tell one of the, I think the funniest stories I think I've ever heard you tell. And it's about Eddie Murphy. Would you mind
Right.
just giving a quick snippet of that story?
That I sure can. Um, Years and years ago, Sharon and I had talked about, this is before COVID, we were still traveling and going all around, and we had planned to go back to Paris, which is my wife's favorite city. And I told her, I said, Sharon, before this trip, when we get, I really want to go to a Michelin 3-star restaurant. And she said, you're crazy. It's time for us to leave. You have to make those reservations months in advance. So I said, yeah, you're probably right. So we went ahead. We were walking up the Champs-Élysées one day, and I looked over and said, hey, that's Fouquet. That's one of the Michelin starred restaurants. I'm going to go in and see if we can get reservations. She said, you're nuts. There's no way we're going to get in. I said, hold on one second. I'll be right back. So I walked in, went up to the maitre d' who was standing there, and I said, Monsieur, is there a chance that we might be able to get reservations tonight? He looked at me and said, mais oui, monsieur. What time? I said, 7 o'clock. Ouais, mais oui, see you at 7. I went back outside. I said, Sharon, we have reservations. She said, I can't believe it. So we walked around a little more, did some things, went back to the hotel and dressed up for dinner and came back. Sure enough, 7 o'clock. Everything was perfect. I mean, the plates had to be so, and you drink a sip of water and they would pour more water in. I mean, it was just perfect. So at the end of the dinner, the maitre d' walked back up and leaned over and said, and how was your dinner, Monsieur Eddie Murphy? I looked at him and I said, very good, very good.
They thought you were Eddie Murphy. I love
He
it.
thought I was Eddie Murphy, and that's how I got the reservation.
Awesome. Well, one thing I remember, one time I remember we were at a black tie event and I was walking next to you through this big crowd. And obviously I had gotten all dressed up for this big event. And we were walking through the crowd and everybody was turning and looking. And I thought to myself, man, I must look good tonight. And then I realized I'm walking next to Bob. And does it ever bother you that you get noticed wherever you go?
No, you get used to it, and not so much now. After being off the air for 5 years, people in Chicago still will recognize me. Those who have followed me for 40 years on the air, but younger people may not, and that's fine. I don't miss it at all, and being just like everyone else now is kind of a relief. We can go and do things and no one comes up and taps us on the shoulder while we're having dinner or anything like that. Yeah. So it's fine.
So tell everybody what you're up to these days.
Well, many, many years ago, I started my own video production company, and we do these 90 minutes luxury private videos for high net worth families. They're pretty costly. That's why I had to aim them for families who could afford them, because they are in the low 6 figures, but they're like movies. And we do these for families who are multi-generational, have their own businesses, and we help them preserve and protect their family legacy. And I owe it all to you, because you invited me to, when you were at Northern, you invited me to a conference of ultra high net worth families in Naples, Florida. And I came away from that with 3 commissions, and my business just took off from there over the years. And we've continued to do them, and we have families we work with all over the country.
Awesome.
So I still owe you a debt of gratitude.
You owe me nothing, Bob. I owe you. But thank you so much again for doing this. So I have to ask you a real estate question.
Sure.
So being that you recently downsized, what would be your one piece of advice for people getting ready to downsize?
Well, in any endeavor like that, I'll tell you a quick, interesting story. People would drop notes in our mailbox asking us if we were interested in selling. And we weren't. We built this home in the suburb of Chicago. We really liked it. We thought at the time when we built it that Karen was going to be coming back and forth with her family to stay because we thought she was going to go with another TV station. So anyway, it was a big house. It's 5,000 square foot, 6 bedroom, 6 bath home. And by the time we retired, it was just way too much house for us. I had a wonderful full library for all of my books and everything. So as Sharon, so to make a long story short, a realtor asked us if we wanted to sell our house. And he said, name your price. And I looked at Sharon and said, I think we're out of here. And what happened was we were living in an Orthodox Jewish neighborhood, and their parents were 2 blocks away, and they needed to be able to walk to synagogue since they were Orthodox, and they really wanted the home. So we decided we liked the area. We went about a mile away, and we found another home that was smaller. And I'd always wanted a pool, so it had a pool, so I could have the grandkids over and teach them how to swim. But the toughest part was agreeing on something with Sharon. We almost ended up in divorce court because I would say, do you like this? And she'd say, no. I'd say, do you like that? And she'd go, so that's the toughest part. And then find how to give away, how to downsize, how to, give clothes to the Salvation Army. What do you do with all of your books? But there's one thing you have to remember, you save all of these things you've accumulated for a lifetime thinking, I'm going to give them to the kids and I'm going to do this. Many times the kids aren't interested. So you make 3 piles, one that you're giving away, one that you're donating, one for charity or whatever, and hopefully that works. And it ended up helping us to clean out a lot of trash that we had accumulated after 50 years of marriage.
Thanks, Bob. I have a lot of clients that I'm helping sell their big homes to downsize, so that tip will definitely help them.
Well, good.
Well, yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and I want to be respectful of your time. I know you're busy.
Thank you, Cara. It's so good to see you. I'm so happy, and I know how thorough you are. And any family that gets you as a realtor is really, really lucky because you'll be able to help them with finances. You have such a great history of wealth management, and you know the market so well that you are a jewel for any family who is lucky enough to have you.
Well, you're more than kind, Bob. Thank you so much for joining us. And for anybody that wants to be sure to see my upcoming videos, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And if you're looking to buy or sell a home in Michigan, give me a call. My number is 312-545-8428. Thanks so much, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.